My girlfriend uploaded a TikTok saying, "Never stay loyal to potential when you can date success," right after leaving me for a richer man, twice her age. I didn't respond or defend myself. Months later, she deleted her entire account after their public breakup became local gossip across multiple platforms. Maybe now I can finally date someone successful for once. She didn't yell it. She didn't even look up from the suitcase when she said it. Just folded a sweater, set it in the bag, and smiled at the zipper like it was the most reasonable thing anyone had ever said out loud. The apartment went completely still. Not the kind of still where someone's waiting for a response. The kind where something permanent just happened and both people in the room already know it. I stood in the doorway of the bedroom we'd shared for 2 years, and I didn't say a single word. My phone was already vibrating on the kitchen counter. At the time, I thought it was just notifications. I had no idea those buzzes were people I knew sending me a TikTok she'd already posted. At the time, I thought the worst part was already happening. I was wrong. By the time she rolled the second suitcase out of the front door, that video had 43,000 views. My buddy Cody sent it to me first with no caption, just the link. Then Vincent. Then 2 people I hadn't spoken to since college. I stood alone in an apartment that still smelled like her perfume and watched the view count climb in real time. The caption read, "Never stay loyal to potential when you can date success, upgrade season bestie." The audio was one of those trending sounds. Upbeat, playful, like she was announcing a vacation, not the end of a 2-year relationship. The comments were already going. Sis said what she said. It's giving self-respect. The way she just knew her worth, OMG. Someone had already screenshot the caption and reposted it with the text, "Name a more iconic quote." I'll wait. And somewhere in all of that, I was the unnamed context. The cautionary tale. The guy she upgraded from. I put my phone face down on the counter and stood in the kitchen for a long time. I didn't post anything. I didn't text her. I didn't even call Cody back. I just stood there. And that silence, the one I chose almost by accident that night, turned out to be the only decision I made in this entire story that actually mattered. If you enjoy real stories like this, subscribe, because what happened next changed everything for me. I was 26. She was 24. We'd been together for just over 2 years, living together for one of them in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens that I was splitting rent on while working a mid-level logistics job I'd taken to stop bleeding savings while I finished building out a small e-commerce operation on the side. It wasn't glamorous. I knew that. I was grinding. That was the whole point of the grind. It doesn't look like much until it does. Her name was Heather. She worked in social media marketing for a boutique agency in Manhattan, and she was genuinely good at it. Creative, sharp, knew how to read a room and then make content about it. When we got together, that was actually one of the things I liked most about her. She understood the hustle, or I thought she did. What I didn't fully understand until later was the difference between understanding a hustle and respecting one. The first time I noticed something was off was about 8 months before the suitcase. We were at her coworker Dana's birthday dinner. Rooftop place in Midtown. Nice enough. I was wearing the blazer I kept for occasions exactly like this one. Heather introduced me to someone. I don't even remember who. And she said, "This is my boyfriend. He's in logistics. And he does some stuff online." The pause before logistics was less than a second. But I heard it. The some stuff online landed like a footnote. I smiled, shook the hand, ordered a drink. On the way home, she was in a good mood. Talking about someone's outfit, laughing at something Dana said. And I let it go. That was the first time I let it go. It became a pattern I didn't name until I was already deep inside it. Little things. Comments that lived in the exact space between a joke and not a joke. I follow this guy on Instagram. He's like 28 and already has a penthouse in Tribeca. Like, can you imagine? Said while scrolling in bed. Not looking at me. I said, "Good for him." She said, "Yeah." Long pause. Must be nice to just be there already. I kept reading my book. Or the time her friend Veronica got engaged to some finance guy, and Heather came home from the celebration dinner quiet in a specific way. Not sad. Not happy. Processing. She sat on the couch and scrolled for 40 minutes without saying anything, and then finally said, "Veronica's going to have a really different life now." I said, "She seemed happy." Heather said, "She is." Another pause. She worked really hard for that. I looked up. For falling in love. She gave me a small smile. For ending up somewhere real. I didn't respond to that one either. Looking back now, I understand that she wasn't being subtle. She was telling me exactly how she felt. I just kept choosing to read it as frustration instead of calculation. The social media thing got worse around the 6-month before mark. She started being more intentional about what she posted, which wasn't unusual. It was her job to think that way. But something shifted. The captions started having a certain edge to them. Only room in my life for people who are actually going somewhere. Stopped romanticizing the struggle. Comfort is a personality trait. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Choose accordingly. I read them as general content. Trends. Stuff that performed well. Cody asked me once, sitting in my car outside a diner, does she post that stuff a lot? I said, it's just content. He looked at the screen for another second and then looked at me. Yeah, sure. He didn't push it. I didn't ask him to elaborate. That was the thing about Cody. He saw it before I did, and he respected me enough not to say it out loud before I was ready. About 4 months before the end, she came home one Friday excited about something. Glowing, almost. She'd been at a networking event for her agency. Client dinner, she called it. She was talking fast, describing the venue, the food, the energy in the room. And then she mentioned a name. Shane. He's a client? Or like a potential client? I asked. He's a developer. Real estate. Does some tech investing too. She was still smiling. He's really impressive. Like the kind of person where you just feel it when they walk in. Feel what? That they've actually made it. I was washing dishes when she said it. I kept washing them. Cool, I said. He's older, she added, like that was just a detail. Like, significantly. But honestly, you can't even tell because he carries it well. I put a bowl on the drying rack. You going to work with his company? Maybe. We'll see. She picked up her phone and went to the bedroom. That was the last conversation I remember us having that felt normal. Shane showed up on her Instagram 3 weeks later. Not directly. She was too smart for that. But there was a photo of a restaurant I didn't recognize, tagged to a neighborhood I knew was out of both our price ranges. The caption was, "Some rooms just feel different when you finally belong in them." I stared at it for maybe 60 seconds. Then I put my phone down and went back to what I was doing. Because I still, even then, was not letting myself believe what I already knew. The actual conversation happened on a Tuesday. She came home from work and she had that energy again. That processed quiet. She sat at the kitchen table while I was finishing up some inventory work on my laptop. She said, I think we've been in different places for a while. I closed the laptop slowly. Different places how? I want certain things. She said it carefully, like she'd rehearsed it. And I've been waiting for things to shift between us, and I don't think they're going to. What things? I want stability. I want to not worry about where things are heading. I want to be with someone who's already there. I'm building something. I know. Her voice wasn't mean. That was the part that was strange. It was almost gentle. That's kind of the problem. I looked at her. You're punishing me for working towards something. I'm making a choice for myself. By leaving. Yes. Long silence. Is there someone else? She looked at the table, then back at me. I've been talking to someone. Nothing's happened, but I want to be honest with you. I nodded once. Okay. That's it. What do you want me to say, Heather? She looked almost surprised, like she expected something different. Begging, maybe, or anger. I stood up, picked up my laptop, and went to the second bedroom that I used as an office. I sat in the dark for a while. 2 days later, she started packing. That TikTok went up 12 hours before she finished moving her stuff out. Not after. Before. She filmed it in our bathroom. You can see the edge of the shower curtain I bought in the background. She used a trending audio, pointed at herself through the camera, and mouthed the words to the caption she'd already written. The comments section became a celebration within hours. Left him before leaving. That's queen behavior. She said upgrade season is a lifestyle. The way she just knew. That last one had 4,000 likes by nightfall. Somewhere in those comments was a thread where people were speculating about who her new guy was. Someone had found a photo. Someone else said he looked like money with ego included. They weren't wrong. I didn't respond to a single person who texted me about it. Not Cody. Not Vincent. Not my boy Jeremy, who sent me a voice note that just said, "Bro, I'm coming over," and then showed up anyway with a 6-pack and the good sense not to make me talk about it. We watched a game. He didn't bring it up once. That was the right call. Shane was 51 years old. Heather was 24. I found this out the way you find out most things you didn't ask for. Someone sent me a screenshot of his LinkedIn. He had the kind of profile that was clearly written to impress at a glance. real estate development company, some tech investments, advisory board positions that probably meant very little but sounded significant. His Instagram was worse. Private, but you could see the profile picture clearly enough. Silver at the temples. Expensive watch visible even in a photo that was supposedly just a landscape shot. Within 2 weeks of the breakup, Heather's Instagram had shifted. The captions were different now. Softer, more curated, aspirational without the edge. Learning what it actually feels like to be chosen. New chapter, new standards, new everything. Photos of food I definitely couldn't afford. An elevator selfie that screamed building with a doorman. She never named him publicly, but she didn't have to. The internet figured it out fast. The first crack I noticed wasn't dramatic. It was a comment. On one of her posts, a dinner photo, candlelit, beautiful staging, someone wrote, "Is that the same restaurant from his ex-wife's anniversary post?" Heather deleted it within an hour, but I saw it because Qley had already screenshot it. He texted it to me with no message. I sent back, "Interesting." He sent back, "Keep watching." I didn't respond to that, but I kept my notifications on for her profile for the first time since the breakup. The ex-wife thing didn't go anywhere immediately, but it planted something. People started paying closer attention. There's a specific type of internet attention that's different from regular attention. Regular attention is passive. People scroll, they like, they move on. But when people get curious about something, when they sense a story, they start cataloging. Screenshots, timestamps, comments before they get deleted. A small but growing corner of the local social media world had decided that Heather and Shane were interesting. And not in the way Heather wanted to be interesting. Around the 2-month mark, Qley told me something over the phone. "You know Bethany from her friend group?" I did. Not well, but I knew who he meant. She's been quiet about the whole thing, but she posted something yesterday. A quote. About people who abandon good people for status and then wonder why they're unhappy. I said, "Could be about anything." Qley said, "She tagged it for my friend who deserved better." Heather wasn't in her recent stories for the first time in like a year. I didn't say anything. "I'm just saying," Qley continued. "Even her own people are starting to read the room." The mutual friend thing was its own kind of uncomfortable. In the first few weeks after the breakup, a handful of people I'd known through Heather quietly disappeared from my feed. Not blocking, just unfollowing. The digital version of crossing the street. One guy I'd hung out with maybe a dozen times, someone I genuinely liked, started appearing in the background of her content. A group shot, a venue she posted. That stung a little, I won't lie. Not because I wanted those friendships back, but because there's something specific about watching people choose a side and then watching them try to pretend they didn't. Jeremy told me not to track it. "Every person who went quiet is just telling you something about themselves," he said. "Let them." So I did. My business had a good month in month 3. Not a life-changing month, but a solid one. The kind that makes the math start to make sense. I didn't post about it. I didn't update my LinkedIn. I didn't make content about the grind or the glow up or any of it. I just noted it in a spreadsheet and kept going. Vincent knew. Jeremy knew. Qley knew because he'd been helping me with some logistics on the supplier side. No one else did. And that felt right. The first genuinely public crack happened at a rooftop party in month 4. I wasn't there, but I might as well have been, given how many people described it to me afterward. Apparently Shane and Heather had shown up together. One of their first public appearances as a couple at an event where multiple people knew both of them. And apparently Shane had spent most of the night talking to other people. Not in a mingling way. In a way where Heather would drift toward him and he'd be mid-conversation and not quite acknowledge her. Or he'd introduce her and then immediately start talking over her. Someone who was there, someone who knew Heather from before and texted me about it completely unprompted, said, "She looked like she was auditioning to be in her own relationship." That line stayed with me, because it was exactly the kind of thing Heather used to say about other people. Around month 5, the internet started doing what the internet does. Someone made a thread. Not a huge account, just someone with a few thousand followers who had apparently been cataloging the inconsistencies in the image Heather and Shane had been projecting. The staged luxury photos that didn't quite match up. The restaurant that appeared in both Shane's and his ex-wife's posts from overlapping timelines. A comment Shane had made on a much younger woman's post that someone had screenshot before he deleted it. The thread wasn't cruel exactly. It was just observational. And observational threads about people performing a life they don't actually have are the most dangerous kind. Because the comments write themselves. Heather's response was to go quieter. Posts spaced further apart. Captions shorter. The glow that had been radiating off her content since month 1 started to dim. Her comment sections, which she'd been leaving open as a kind of performance of confidence, started getting messy. She'd leave a post up for 6 hours with open comments, and then quietly lock them. Then she started leaving them locked from the jump. Then some videos started disappearing. The specific TikTok that cracked everything open wasn't the thread. It was a live stream. Shane did a live stream, which apparently he did occasionally for some business audience, and Heather was in the background. Not intentionally, just visibly there. And at some point in the stream, he said something offhand to whoever he was talking to, something about distractions in his personal life, and laughed. And you could see Heather, in the background, go very still. She didn't know she was on camera in that moment. Her face did the thing faces do when they think no one is watching. Someone clipped it. The clip spread in about 18 hours. By the time I saw it, Cody sent it. Obviously, it had been reposted across multiple platforms, and the comments were doing what comments do. The way her face just fell. She really left a good man for this. Karma dressed in a blazer. And then, inevitably, the older videos surfaced, including the original TikTok. Never stay loyal to potential when you can date success. Someone stitched the 2 clips together. The one where she was glowing, pointing at the caption, radiating certainty. And the one where she was standing in the background of a man's live stream, forgotten in real time, realizing something she couldn't take back. That stitch had 2 million views by the following morning. I found out about the actual breakup through Bethany. Not because she told me directly, but because she posted a story, just text on a plain background, that said, "Sometimes people have to learn the difference between a man who sees you and a man who displays you. Praying for my girl." And then she followed me again. I didn't reach out to ask. I just noted it. The public fallout was worse than I expected, and I hadn't expected much to begin with. It wasn't one thing. It was a collapse of small things happening close together. There were rumors, never fully confirmed, but loud enough, that Shane had been significantly less wealthy than his social media implied, that some of the real estate projects were leveraged in ways that weren't stable, that the lifestyle was partially borrowed against a future that wasn't guaranteed. Someone claimed to have spoken to a former business associate. Someone else claimed to have receipts. None of it was ever fully verified. But in the social media world Heather had built her identity inside of, verified doesn't matter as much as plausible. And it was very plausible. Her posting basically stopped. Not a clean break. Not an announcement. Just a gradual silence that stretched from days into weeks. The account was still up, but it was like visiting a room where someone used to live. Some of the older posts were gone. The most performative ones from the early months of the relationship. The upgrade season energy posts. The finally being chosen captions. Gone. The original TikTok, the one with the caption. The one that had been stitched and reposted and quoted in comment sections as evidence in a public trial she hadn't known she was entering. Disappeared somewhere around month 6. I know because Cody told me it was gone and I went to check. Empty. No repost. No explanation. Just gone. I've been thinking lately about what she was actually trying to do when she posted that video. Not the malicious read. Not the charitable one either. Just the real one. She was trying to write a story about herself before I could write one about her. She wanted to be the one who left. The one who knew what she wanted. The one who didn't waste time on potential when she could have success. She wanted the internet to see her as someone who chose correctly. And for about 6 weeks, it worked. The comments gave her that. The repost gave her that. The people who don't know you personally but are happy to celebrate your narrative as long as it comes with a good caption, they gave her that. But she'd built the whole thing on a foundation that required Shane to be what he presented himself as. And he wasn't. And she'd burned the previous version of her life publicly enough that there was nowhere quiet to land when it fell apart. There's something I never talked about publicly. Not then, not now. The way she'd been letting me know she looked down on what I was doing long before she said it out loud. There was a dinner with her family, her parents, her younger sister, where her mom asked about my work and Heather answered for me. "He's figuring it out," she said. Pleasantly. Quickly. Like it was a kind summary. Her mom smiled politely and changed the subject. And Heather never looked at me to see how it landed. There were small money comments that I'd filed away without labeling them. I'm not trying to split bills forever. I don't want to still be doing the frugal thing at 30. I watched my mom wait on my dad's dreams, and I swore I'd never do that. That last one she said once and never repeated. But she meant it. I understand now that she'd been building a case in her own mind for a long time before she built one for the internet. The TikTok wasn't an impulse. It was a conclusion she'd been writing for months. Jeremy got engaged around month 7. Good woman. Someone who'd been in his life for 3 years and who understood him in the way you can only understand someone if you actually pay attention to them. I was happy for him. Genuinely. We were at dinner. Him, me, Cody, Vincent. And at some point Cody raised a glass and said, "To people who end up where they're supposed to." I don't think he meant it as a comment on anything, but I received it as one. The account went dark completely around month 8. Not deleted immediately, just locked, then private. Then one day Cody checked, and it was gone. Profile not found. Every post, every caption, every carefully constructed caption about standards and upgrades and choosing correctly. Gone. The Stitch video is still floating around somewhere, probably. The internet doesn't clean itself the way people hope it does. But her platform, the one she'd built her post-relationship narrative on, the one that had been her evidence that she'd made the right call, was gone. My business had its best quarter in month 9. I told my mom. I told Jeremy. I mentioned it to Cody when it came up naturally. I still didn't post about it. I'm not sure I ever will. Not because I'm hiding something, but because some things aren't for the people watching. Some things are just for you. And for the first time in a long time, I understood the difference. Heather and I haven't spoken since the last suitcase left the apartment. Not a message, not a like, not a follow request. Nothing. I don't know exactly what happened between her and Shane beyond what made it online, and honestly I don't need to. I know what I know. She looked at what I was building and decided it wasn't enough. She traded it for something that looked like the finish line. And then she found out that some finish lines are just the beginning of a different kind of losing. I'm not angry. That's the thing I want to be honest about. I was for a little while, not the loud kind of angry, just the quiet kind, the kind that sits with you in the morning before you're fully awake. But it passed the way those things do when you stop feeding them. What I feel now is something closer to clarity. The kind you can't manufacture. The kind that only comes from watching something play out completely. She needed the internet to agree with her decision. I didn't need anything from anyone. And that difference, that quiet, unspectacular difference, turned out to matter more than anything either of us posted. Cody texted me the day the account disappeared. Just 3 words. It's all gone. I set my phone down, picked up my coffee, kept reading. She traded potential for status, then lost both. The last thing she deleted wasn't the breakup video. It was every reminder that I ever existed. I never responded to her TikTok. I didn't need to.